Here now exclusively, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Nikki Haley. And thank you so much for being here. And congratulations, because that 15-0 vote was really hailed, even by administration critics, as quite amazing and impressive. Do you have any information on the new information that we have, that North Korea, for the first time since 2014, is moving some military assets to maybe in response to these sanctions?
I can't talk about classified information. What I can tell you is that we are on it. We are very aware of what's happening. We are going to continue to watch and see what happens. But it was a strong day for the United States. It was a strong day for the United Nations, and it was a gut punch to North Korea to let them know the international community is tired of it, and we're going to start fighting back.
What was like behind the scenes? Did you have to twist a lot of arms when it came to China and Russia?
Yes, we did. But, you know, at the end of the day, what we had to show them was, look, how many more ICBM tests do we need to see before we do something?
Right.
And the fact that every dollar of revenue that the North Korean government gets, they're not feeding their people with it. They're using it towards the nuclear weapon system. And so we had to stop it. And so going after the sanctions is going after their ability to build these missiles, and it was something that needed to happen.
I'm sure you hear this too. I mean, this really has gone from being a theoretical question, like could they possibly get a nuclear weapon in the future, to feeling a lot more real. And I wonder if you hear from either friends or family, people that you see on the street, people even at the United Nations, are they actually concerned? Because I hear people saying that they're really scared.
I mean, all of us should be concerned about what's happening right now. But I think the signs that we're seeing from North Korea, they're concerned back. Now they see the international community standing with one voice. China didn't pull off, Russia didn't pull off, and all of the Security Council and the international community said, that's enough. You've got to stop it. It's reckless, it's irresponsible. And the international community really laid down the groundwork of saying, we're not going to watch you do this anymore. Now North Korea has to respond. And yes, they're going to say, they're going to threaten, they're going to do all of these things, but we're not going to run scared from them.
Right, and not overreact, I guess, to everything,
exactly
every little
right.
provocation. Do we have a plan to keep China engaged, to make sure, because General Jack Keane will be here a little bit later in the show, and he has said that, you know, they have a terrible track record of keeping the sanctions going.
90% of the trade that North Korea has is with China, so that's why they were so important to this resolution. And what we saw was the fact that China did step up. These are hard-hitting sanctions that we're doing, over $1 billion out of their $3 billion export. But what was more important was China stepped up and said, we will follow through on these sanctions. We will make sure that we follow it. And they encouraged the international community to follow it. So I think China feels this. I mean, when I talked to the Chinese ambassador, when that missile test took off, they felt it in China. It was so close to their border that the ground shook.
Wow.
So the people of China now feel it, and they're disturbed enough to say that they now have to do their part. And now we have to just stay on them to make sure they do that.
Earlier today at the Pentagon, at a gaggle this morning, they said that the Department of Defense is working on moving to South Korea some larger missiles. Do you think you'll get pushback from Russia or China on that?
They won't like it, but they have to understand it. I mean, our job is to defend not just the United States, but our allies. And what you're seeing is Japanese TV is showing that ballistic missile test on every television because they could see it when it came back into the atmosphere. And so we have to protect our friends, and we're going to continue to do that. And I think it's another sign of force that North Korea can't threaten and think we're not going to respond.
There's lots of intrigue, of course, around Russia, and Secretary Tillerson, who's traveling in the region today, had this to say. Let's listen to that.
I told the foreign minister that we had not made a decision regarding how we will respond to Russia's request to remove U.S. diplomatic personnel. I asked several clarifying questions just to ensure I understood kind of their thinking behind that diplomatic note we received, but I told him we would respond by September the 1st.
I'm curious about the diplomatic part of your job in regards to Russia, because on the one hand, you had last week the Russian government, Medvedev, sending taunting tweets to President Trump after he signed those sanctions that were very tough sanctions. And then on this side, you have them cooperating on North Korea, and then we have other business with them, including Syria and Ukraine. So how are you walking that line?
Well, I think Russia's having to make these decisions, right? We're not having to walk a line because we are where we are, whether it's in opposing what they're doing with Ukraine, whether it's in fighting Assad in Syria and the fact that that's their another ally, whether it's be sanctioned because they meddled in our elections. We're going to continue to do what we have to do. I think Russia's trying to figure out how to deal with us. And I think they're trying to decide when can we be with the United States and when can we not. The resolution was certainly an opportunity for them to be with us, and they stepped up and they did it. They didn't do it willingly. I think that they wanted to drag it out a bit. But when they saw that this train was moving, they jumped on and they were with us on that.
Just moving a little bit south to South America, I was curious about Venezuela because that is a disastrous and chaotic situation. The human rights there are just abysmal. And I wonder, do you think that the UN will take any further action after the president put the sanctions on Maduro personally last week?
What is happening in Venezuela is tragic. I mean, we are watching a democracy go directly into a dictatorship, and I think that's why you're seeing everyone protesting. We actually had an emergency hearing on Venezuela 2 months ago because I said that this was a serious human rights situation. The Security Council's response was this should go to the Human Rights Council. The reason it hasn't gone to the Human Rights Council is because Venezuela sits on the Human Rights Council. So yes, I do think it's getting to the point where we're going to have to bring this back to the Security Council. But at this point, we're going to continue sanctions, at least from the U.S. side. But we have to be loud about this. What's happening in Venezuela and what's happening to the people there is just awful. And you've got 40 other countries and the Vatican saying that they condemn everything that Maduro is doing. And I think we have to keep up the pressure.
I thought one last question. This is an issue that's really I follow a lot, which is the humanitarian crisis that is growing in Africa, especially in regards to famine. And I think it sort of flew under the radar screen that the Trump administration did not get enough credit. They stepped up when the world community wasn't. And President Trump said, I will put $639 million more towards this effort. And I wonder if that has led any of the other countries to pony up their parts.
I think when the United States leads, everybody else does follow. It's just something that we've done. So the fact that we put the $639 million was one thing, but the second thing is I'll be going to Africa in the fall. We're going to be going to the Democratic Republic of Congo. We're going to South Sudan. We're going to go to Ethiopia. We're going to meet with the African Union. I mean, there's some things that we have to do there. There's political issues, there's famine, and there's a lot of human rights suffering.
And it's a security issue for all of us as well.
It's a big security issue. All eyes need to be on Africa, and we have to have a strong Africa policy.
Well, I could go around the world with you, around it again, but we have to let you go. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.